Commander Alan Murphy stood at the bridge of the Earth Alliance vessel Dauntless, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. His ship was not the biggest or the most impressive in Earth's fleet, but it was reliable. Just like him. 20 years of service had earned him this command, and he was proud of it, even if the ship's technology seemed basic compared to what they were about to encounter. "Sir, the Zithrani vessel is approaching. They're requesting permission to dock," said Lieutenant Olivia Hayes from her station at Communications. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her blue uniform was crisp and spotless. Murphy took a deep breath. "Grant them permission, Lieutenant, and notify all department heads to meet me in the docking bay." This would be humanity's first official diplomatic meeting with the Zithrani. The aliens had made contact 3 months ago, approaching Earth with what they called peaceful intentions. Initial communications had been polite, but Murphy had detected something in their tone that bothered him. Something like pity. Chief Engineer Keith Ramirez joined Murphy in the elevator. "Ready to meet our new alien friends, sir?" he asked, his voice carrying a hint of sarcasm. "Be nice, Keith," Murphy said with a slight smile. "They might have technology we can learn from," Ramirez snorted. "From the transmissions I've seen, they seem more interested in teaching than learning." When they reached the docking bay, Security Chief Natalie Reed was already there with her team, standing at attention. The ship's doctor, Ben Collins, looked nervous, fidgeting with his medical scanner. "Everyone stay calm," Murphy said to his assembled crew. "Remember, this is a historic moment." The airlock cycled open with a hiss. 3 tall figures stepped through, and Murphy had to stop himself from gasping. The Zithrani were beautiful in an alien way. Their skin shimmered with iridescent scales in blues and greens. They had long, elegant limbs and large, immense-shaped eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. The tallest one stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Zelthorn of the Zithrani Confederation. We thank you for your welcome." His voice was melodic, and his English was perfect, thanks to their advanced translation technology. Murphy bowed slightly. "Ambassador, welcome aboard the Dauntless. I am Commander Alan Murphy. This is my senior staff." The ambassador's eyes moved over the humans, lingering on their equipment. Something like amusement flickered across his face. "We are honored to be the first of our kind to board a human vessel," Zelthorn said. "We look forward to learning about your ... capabilities." There was that tone again. The slight pause before capabilities that made it sound like he was talking about a child's drawing rather than a spaceship that could cross the solar system in days. "We've prepared a tour," Murphy said, keeping his voice even. "Perhaps you'd like to see our engine room first?" The 2 other Zithrani exchanged glances. One of them, introduced as Science Officer Zarvex, spoke up. "Yes, we are most curious about how you manage interstellar travel with your current level of development." Ramirez's face reddened slightly, but he maintained his professional demeanor as they led the aliens through the ship's corridors. In the engine room, the Zithrani examined the Dauntless's fusion drive with expressions that reminded Murphy of how adults look at children's science projects. Not unkind, but clearly not impressed. "Fascinating," Ambassador Zelthorn remarked, running his long fingers over a control panel. "You've managed to achieve relativistic speeds with such rudimentary systems. It's remarkable you haven't all perished in the void." Ramirez clenched his jaw but remained silent. Murphy could practically feel the engineer's blood pressure rising. "We make do with what we have," Murphy replied diplomatically. "Perhaps we could see your propulsion systems in return." The ambassador exchanged glances with his companions. Their expressions conveyed what seemed like amusement. "I'm afraid your scientists wouldn't comprehend our quantum folding drive technology," Zelthorn said. "It's several centuries beyond your current understanding." They continued the tour to the navigation center, where Lieutenant Diana Foster was monitoring the ship's course. The Zithrani examined the star charts and navigation computers with the same condescending interest. "You navigate by stellar positioning?" asked Science Officer Zarvex. "We abandoned that method millennia ago." Our ships can sense the quantum signatures of stellar bodies across vast distances. Foster's smile remained fixed, but her eyes narrowed slightly. Our methods get us where we need to go. The medical bay was next, where Dr. Collins eagerly showed off the ship's advanced medical equipment, including a regeneration chamber that could heal most injuries within hours. Primitive, but effective for basic trauma, I suppose, the third Zithrani commented. This one was introduced as Medical Specialist Televan. Our healing pods can regrow entire limbs in minutes. By the time they reached the ship's mess hall, Murphy could see the strain on his crew's faces. Every department, every technology, every aspect of human achievement had been dismissed as quaint at best, dangerously backward at worst. As they sat down for a meal prepared to Zithrani specifications, Ambassador Zelthorn grew more direct. Commander Murphy, please understand that we mean no offense. But it is clear to us that humanity is in need of guidance. Your species has potential, but you are like children playing with fire. Your technology is insufficient for the dangers of deep space. Murphy took a sip of his coffee, using the moment to control his response. What kind of guidance did you have in mind, Ambassador? The Zithrani Confederation would be willing to establish a protective relationship with Earth. We could provide limited technological assistance, enough to ensure your safety, but not enough to overwhelm your development capacity. Murphy nodded slowly, as if considering the offer. That's very generous. It is our duty to help developing species, Zelthorn said, clearly pleased with Murphy's apparent acceptance. We've done this many times before. As they finished their meal, Lieutenant Hayes approached Murphy and whispered in his ear. He nodded and turned to the aliens. If you'll excuse me, Ambassador, I've received an important communication from Earth Command. Lieutenant Hayes will. Continue your tour while I respond. In his private quarters, Murphy activated his secure terminal. The face of Admiral Victoria Lawson appeared on the screen. How's it going, Alan? She asked, her expression serious. About as expected, Admiral. They think we're barely out of the Stone Age. Lawson's mouth curved into a small smile. Perfect. Keep playing along. Earth Command has just authorized Operation Unveiling. You'll receive the official order soon. Murphy felt a weight lift from his shoulders. After months of pretending to be technologically inferior, they would finally show the Zithrani who they were really dealing with. Understood, Admiral. When do we begin? Soon. For now, keep them comfortable and clueless. Let them think they're the advanced ones in this relationship. As Murphy returned to his guests, he found it easier to tolerate their condescension. The Zithrani had no idea what humanity was truly capable of. And soon, very soon, they would learn a lesson about judging a species by its appearance. In the communications center, Lieutenant Hayes received the encrypted message from Earth Command. Operation Unveiling authorized. Proceed at Commander's discretion. She allowed herself a small smile before returning to her professional expression. The real show was about to begin. Dr. Gregory Simmons adjusted his glasses as he waited for the Zithrani delegation to arrive at the research facility. Earth Command had selected this location carefully. It was impressive enough to maintain the facade, but contained nothing that would reveal humanity's true technological capabilities. They're here, said his assistant, Emma Lewis, looking up from her tablet. Simmons straightened his lab coat. Remember, everyone, stick to the script. The doors opened, and Ambassador Zelthorn entered, followed by Science Officer Zarvex and 3 other Zithrani scientists. They were accompanied by Lieutenant Olivia Hayes from the Dauntless, who gave Simmons a subtle nod. Welcome to the North American Advanced Research Institute, Simmons said with a warm smile. We're honored to show you our most cutting-edge work. Zarvex's large, almond-shaped eyes took in the laboratory equipment. This is your most advanced facility? One of them, Simmons replied, ignoring the condescension in the alien's voice. We're particularly proud of our quantum computation laboratory. He led them through a series of rooms filled with equipment that was deliberately outdated by human standards, but still impressive enough to maintain the illusion. The Zithrani examined each device with barely concealed amusement. This is your quantum computer? Zarvex asked, studying a large machine in the center of the main laboratory. How many qubits can it process simultaneously? Currently, we're able to maintain quantum coherence for about 500 qubits, Simmons answered, knowing that the actual number for public Earth technology was much higher. The alien scientist made a sound that might have been a laugh. Impressive for your species, I suppose. We achieved stable quantum entanglement communication 2 millennia ago. Our smallest personal devices can process more information than this entire facility, Simmons nodded humbly. We're still learning. Perhaps one day we'll reach your level of achievement. Meanwhile, 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean, the true heart of human technological advancement hummed with activity. The hidden facility known as Deep Core was carved into the ocean floor, protected by energy fields and stealth technology. That made it undetectable to even the most advanced Zithrani sensors. Director Sandra Blackwood walked through the central chamber, where holographic displays showed real-time data from across the solar system, including detailed scans of the Zithrani vessels. Status report, she said to her second-in-command. Colonel Jack Harrison turned from his console. The Zithrani still haven't detected any of our true tech installations. Their scans continued to bounce off our dummy readings. And the Prometheus? Protocols? All systems green, Director. Quantum shield generators are at full capacity and the temporal stabilizers are functioning at optimal levels. We can activate at your command. Blackwood nodded, watching as technicians monitored the flow of information across the displays. Some showed the Zithrani ships in orbit, others tracked the tour at the research facility on the surface. It's almost sad, she said. They really believe they're the advanced ones in this equation. Harrison smiled slightly. 2,000 years of quantum entanglement, they said. We've been manipulating the quantum field for nearly 3 centuries now. And yet we still drive cars with wheels and use physical keyboards on our computers. Blackwood replied. The Great Deception has served us well. After the disastrous First Contact War with the Arcturians 50 years ago, humanity had learned a hard lesson. Revealing your true technological capabilities often led to conflict rather than cooperation. The Arcturians had attacked Earth immediately, upon discovering humanity's advanced quantum technology, fearing competition. The war had been brief but devastating. Since then, Earth had adopted the policy of technological humility, maintaining a public face of modest advancement while developing their true capabilities in secret. Begin Phase 2 preparations, Blackwood ordered. I want the revelation chamber ready by the time the diplomatic summit begins in Geneva. Back at the research facility, the Zithrani were examining samples of what they believed to be Earth's most advanced materials science. This alloy is quite good, considering your limited resource processing capabilities, Ambassador Zelthorn said, holding up a piece of metal that was, in reality, a common building material on Earth. With proper refinement techniques, you could improve its strength by at least 30%. Thank you for the suggestion, Ambassador, Simmons replied. We're always looking to improve our materials. Lieutenant Hayes received a message on her communicator and discreetly checked it. Dr. Simmons, I've just been informed that the Zithrani delegation is invited to observe a test of our new fusion reactor tomorrow. Earth Command thought it might interest our guests. The ambassador's eyes lit up with curiosity. We would be delighted to observe. Though I must say, fusion power is rather basic technology. It's one of our newest models, Hayes said with a humble smile. We'd appreciate any insights you might offer. As the tour continued, one of the younger Zithrani scientists approached Dr. Simmons with what seemed like genuine curiosity rather than condescension. Your species has advanced remarkably quickly, she said. Her name badge identified her as junior researcher Moralex. From your historical records, you were using combustion engines just 2 centuries ago. That's an impressive rate of development. Simmons allowed himself a genuine smile. Necessity is the mother of invention, as we say on Earth. What necessity drove such rapid advancement? She asked. Survival, Simmons replied simply. We've had our share of challenges? Moralex seemed to consider this. The Zithrani Confederation has always believed that guided development is safer than rapid, uncontrolled technological growth. But perhaps there is something to be said for the path your species has taken. Before Simmons could respond, Ambassador Zelthorn called the junior researcher back to his side with a sharp word in their native language. At the end of the tour, the ambassador addressed Simmons and the other human scientists. We appreciate your transparency, Doctor. It confirms our assessment that Earth would benefit greatly from Zithrani guidance. Your technology has potential, but it lacks refinement and safety protocols that only experience can provide. We're grateful for any assistance you might offer. Simmons replied diplomatically. As the Zithrani delegation departed, Emma Lewis approached Simmons. How long do we have to keep pretending that we're technological infants? She whispered. Not much longer, Simmons replied, watching the aliens leave. I received confirmation while they were examining the quantum lab. Operation. Unveiling proceeds tomorrow at the fusion demonstration. Do you think they'll be angry when they realize we've been deceiving them? Simmons smiled. Probably. But they'll also be too impressed and too concerned to do anything about it. In orbit around Earth, the Zithrani command ship received the day's reports from the surface teams. High Chancellor Drexmore reviewed the findings with satisfaction. So, the humans are as primitive as we expected, he said to his advisors. Prepare the protection agreement for the summit in Geneva. Soon, Earth's resources will help fuel our expansion, and the humans will thank us for our guidance. Little did he know that beneath the ocean, inside mountains, and hidden in plain sight across the planet, humanity's true technology was about to reveal itself. The Geneva Convention Center gleamed in the morning sun as delegates from around the world gathered for what the media called the most important diplomatic event in human history. Security was tight, with soldiers and police forming a protective ring around the building. Inside the main hall, President Elaine Carter of the North American Union waited with her advisors. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen many challenges during her time in office. This meeting would be her greatest test yet. They're here, said Defense Secretary William Gaines, looking at his tablet. President Carter nodded. Remember the plan? We play along until the signal. The doors opened, and the Zithrani delegation entered the hall. High Chancellor Drexmore led the group, his iridescent scales shimmering under the lights. Ambassador Zelthorn and several other officials followed behind him. All the human delegates stood as a sign of respect. The Zithrani seemed pleased by this gesture. President Carter, the Chancellor said, bowing slightly. On behalf of the Zithrani Confederation, I thank you for hosting this historic summit. The honor is ours, Chancellor, Carter replied with a diplomatic smile. Please take your seats so we may begin. The two delegations sat on opposite sides of a large round table. Translators were present. Though the Zithrani spoke perfect English through their advanced translation devices, Chancellor Drexmore activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a document titled Protection Agreement between the Zithrani Confederation and Earth. As we have discussed in preliminary talks, the Chancellor began, this agreement will formalize our relationship. The Zithrani Confederation will provide protection and technological guidance to Earth in exchange. We ask only for access to your natural resources and the establishment of cultural education centers on your planet. The human delegates listened politely as the Chancellor continued. Over time, we will help elevate your species to a more civilized state. This is not colonization but partnership, a mutually beneficial arrangement. Secretary Gaines leaned close to President Carter and whispered something. She nodded slightly before addressing the Chancellor. Your offer is generous, Chancellor. However, before we proceed with signing, we would like to offer you a tour of one of our historical museums. We believe understanding our past may help you better understand our future decisions. The Chancellor looked surprised, then slightly annoyed. Is this necessary? We have reviewed your historical records already. Some aspects of our history are not in the public records, Carter replied with a mysterious smile. I think you'll find it enlightening. The Chancellor exchanged glances with his advisors, then nodded reluctantly. Very well. A brief tour, then we will return to complete our business. The human delegation led the Zithrani to a convoy of vehicles waiting outside. They drove through the streets of Geneva to a building that looked like an ordinary museum. From the outside, the sign read, Smithsonian NX Special Collections. Dr. Maya Phillips greeted them at the entrance. She was the director of the museum and also a key member of Earth's scientific community. Welcome to our humble museum, she said to the Zithrani delegation. If you'll follow me, we have a special exhibition prepared for you. As they walked through the quiet halls, Chancellor Drexmore seemed increasingly impatient. President Carter, with all due respect, we have seen many human museums during our time on Earth. I fail to see how this will affect our agreement. Patience, Chancellor, Carter replied. We're almost there. They entered a large, circular room with nothing but a round platform in the center. Dr. Phillips invited everyone to step onto the platform. This exhibition is called The Path Not Taken, she explained as the last of the delegates joined them on the platform. It explores technologies that humanity developed but chose not to implement on a wide scale. She pressed a button on her wrist device. The lights dimmed, and suddenly the floor beneath them became transparent. The Zithrani gasped as they found themselves standing above a vast chamber that stretched deep into the earth below. The chamber was filled with technology that made even the advanced aliens freeze in shock. This, Dr. Phillips continued calmly, is our Museum of Obsolete Technology. These are systems we developed and improved upon centuries ago. The platform began to descend slowly into the chamber. As they got closer, the Zithrani could see detailed holographic displays, quantum computers far more advanced than what they had been shown, and energy systems that their scientists had only theorized about. Impossible, whispered Ambassador Zelthorn, staring at a device that appeared to bend light around itself. This cannot be human technology. I assure you, it is, Dr. Phillips replied. This particular device was developed in 2076 to create localized cloaking fields. We've since moved on to more efficient methods. The platform reached the floor of the chamber, and the delegates stepped off. Zithrani scientists rushed to examine the devices, their arrogance replaced by disbelief and confusion. Admiral Paul Henderson of Earth Defense joined the group, dressed in his formal military uniform. What you've seen on our ships and in our facilities was a carefully maintained facade. We learned long ago that revealing true technological capability often leads to conflict rather than cooperation. Chancellor Drexmore's complexion had paled considerably. If this is true, why maintain the charade? Why allow us to believe you were primitive? President Carter stepped forward. History has taught us caution. When we first ventured into deep space 50 years ago, we encountered the Arcturians. They saw our quantum technology as a threat and attacked immediately. The resulting conflict cost millions of lives. The Arcturians? Chancellor Drexmore's voice was barely a whisper. They are one of the most advanced species in the known galaxy. Were, corrected Admiral Henderson. The war was brief but devastating for both sides. One of the Zithrani scientists called out in their native language, pointing at a quantum folding drive on display. Chancellor Drexmore hurried over to examine it. This drive design, the scientist said in English, it's at least 3 generations more advanced than our own. Yes, Admiral Henderson confirmed. We developed that technology in the late 21st century. We've since moved on to something more efficient. The Chancellor turned to face President Carter, his earlier confidence completely gone. If you possess such technology, your ships, your defenses, are far more capable than what we've shown you, Carter finished for him. The vessels you've seen are what we call diplomatic ships. They're deliberately designed to appear less advanced. But why reveal this to us now? Asked Ambassador Zelthorn. Why not continue the deception? Dr. Phillips smiled. Because true friendship cannot be built on lies. We want genuine diplomatic relations with the Zithrani, not protection agreement. Based on false assumptions. President Carter gestured to the technology around them. This is only a small sample of what humanity has achieved. We hope this demonstration helps you understand that we seek partners, not protectors. Chancellor Drexmore looked at the human delegates with new eyes. There was fear there, but also a growing respect. The protection agreement is clearly unnecessary, he said finally. Perhaps we should return to Geneva and discuss a different kind of arrangement. We would welcome that, President Carter replied. But first, there's one more thing we'd like to show you. She nodded to Admiral Henderson, who activated his communication device. Deep Core Control, this is Admiral Henderson. Activate the planetary defense grid. Authorization code, Prometheus. Across Earth's atmosphere, millions of previously invisible satellites suddenly activated, creating a shimmering energy shield that enveloped the entire planet. This shield, explained Secretary Gaines, could withstand the combined firepower of your entire fleet for approximately 300 years. The message was clear. Earth did not need protection. It was more than capable of defending itself. The Zithrani delegation returned to the Geneva Convention Center in silence. The confidence and superiority they had shown earlier was gone, replaced by uncertainty and careful respect. Chancellor Drexmore walked beside President Carter, his tall frame slightly bent as if carrying a new weight on his shoulders. Inside the main conference room, the holographic display still showed the protection agreement that now seemed laughable to both sides. With a wave of his hand, the Chancellor dismissed the document. It seems we have much to discuss anew, he said, his voice lacking its former condescension. The Zithrani Confederation would like to revise our approach to relations with Earth. President Carter nodded. We welcome honest dialogue between equals. The human and alien delegates took their seats. The atmosphere had changed completely. I must ask, said Ambassador Zelthorn, breaking the uncomfortable silence. How has humanity kept such advanced technology hidden from the rest of the galaxy? Our sensors should have detected your capabilities, Admiral Henderson smiled. The same technology that powers our quantum folding. Drives also allows us to mask energy signatures. We call it the Veil Protocol. It's been active since the Arcturian conflict. One of the Zithrani scientists, who had been examining data on a personal device, looked up with wide eyes. That would require manipulating quantum fields across an entire solar system. The energy requirements alone would be substantial, finished Dr. Phillips. But not impossible with zero-point energy extraction. The scientist's mouth opened in shock. You've mastered zero-point energy? Since 2103, Dr. Phillips replied casually, though we had a few incidents during early development. Chancellor Drexmore leaned forward. If what you've shown us is merely obsolete technology, what does humanity currently use? President Carter exchanged glances with Secretary Gaines, who gave a slight nod. Perhaps a small demonstration would be appropriate, she said. With your permission, Chancellor, we would like to show you one of our true vessels. The Chancellor nodded, curiosity overcoming his unease. President Carter activated her communication device. This is President Carter. Please authorize Commander Allen to decloak the horizon and assume standard orbit. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one of the Zithrani aides gasped, pointing to the large screen on the wall that showed a view of Earth from orbit. Where empty space had been moments before, a massive ship had appeared. It was sleek and elegant, with lines that seemed to flow like water, utterly unlike the bulky Dauntless that the Zithrani had first encountered. The Horizon is one of our standard exploration vessels, explained Admiral Henderson. Not our largest, or most advanced, but a fair representation of current human technology. Chancellor Drexmore stared at the screen. It's beautiful, he admitted. How many such ships does Earth possess? That information remains classified, the Admiral replied, with a polite smile. But rest assured we have sufficient vessels for our needs. The Zithrani delegation whispered among themselves in their native language. The Chancellor finally turned back to President Carter. I begin to understand why you concealed your true capabilities, he said. Had we known, we might have approached Earth very differently. With fear rather than condescension? asked Secretary Gaines bluntly. The Chancellor had the grace to look embarrassed. Perhaps, though I hope we would have chosen respect instead. Dr. Phillips stood up and activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed various star systems, including Earth's and the Zithrani home system. This region of space has many emerging civilizations, she said. Some, like the Zithrani, have achieved interstellar travel. Others are still confined to their home planets. We've been monitoring all of them. You've been watching us? Asked a Zithrani official, sounding alarmed. Just as you've been watching Earth, President Carter replied calmly. The difference is that we saw through your surveillance while you didn't detect ours. Ambassador Zelthorn looked troubled. If you have such advanced technology, why not share it with other species? Why maintain this elaborate deception? Dr. Maya Phillips moved to the center of the room. When we first developed quantum folding technology, we nearly destroyed ourselves. The power to bend space and time came with terrible risks. 3 research stations and 1 city were lost before we fully understood the dangers. She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed scenes of disaster-strange energy fields consuming buildings, people trapped in temporal loops. We learned that technological advancement must be paired with ethical development and understanding. When we met the Arcturians, we naively shared our technology as a gesture of friendship. They immediately weaponized it, but without proper safeguards. The resulting conflict nearly destroyed both our civilizations. The room was silent as the implications sank in. After that, Earth adopted the policy of technological humility. Admiral Henderson continued. We would advance our technology in secret while presenting a more modest face to the galaxy. We would observe other civilizations and make contact only when necessary. And we would never again freely share technology that could be misused. Chancellor Drexmore nodded slowly. Wise policy, though I imagine it has been. Lonely for your species. It has, President Carter admitted, which is why we've decided to change our approach. She stood and walked around the table to stand directly before the Chancellor. The Zithrani have shown themselves to be a stable and generally peaceful civilization. Your initial approach to Earth was condescending but not hostile. We believe you have the potential to be true allies. The Chancellor looked surprised. Even after we treated you as technological inferiors? That was based on false information, Carter replied with a small smile. And your reaction to learning the truth tells us much about your character. What do you propose? Asked the Chancellor. A true alliance. Not protection or guidance, but cooperation between equals. Limited technology sharing with proper safeguards. Joint exploration missions. Cultural exchange. The Zithrani delegation looked at each other, clearly stunned by this offer. And, added Secretary Gaines, we would ask the Zithrani to join us in monitoring emerging civilizations in this sector, to help guide them without interfering in their natural development. Chancellor Drexmore stood as well, his full height impressive even next to the tall human president. Earth offers us partnership when we came offering patronage, he said, a hint of admiration in his voice. The Zithrani Confederation accepts your proposal, President Carter. Let us forge a new kind of relationship, one based on mutual respect and understanding. The 2 leaders clasped hands, and a sense of historic importance filled the room outside the convention center. Crowds of humans had gathered, watching news screens that showed the horizon in orbit. The secret was out: humanity was not the humble, developing species they had pretended to be. They were a technological powerhouse that had chosen restraint over dominance. And now, for the first time in 50 years, they had found a species they might truly call friends. 3 months after the historic Geneva summit, Commander Alan Murphy stood on the observation deck of the Horizon, watching as Earth grew smaller in the distance. The ship moved silently through space, its quantum folding drive allowing it to travel faster than light without the violent jumps of conventional systems. Beside him stood Ambassador Zelthorn, who had been chosen to represent the Zithrani in this first joint mission. The alien diplomat watched the viewscreen with a mixture of awe and lingering embarrassment. Your ship is remarkable, Commander, he said quietly. I still find it difficult to believe we were so easily deceived, Murphy smiled. That was the point. We've had decades to perfect the art of looking less advanced than we are. Lieutenant Olivia Hayes joined them on the deck, bringing data tablets for both the commander and the ambassador. We'll reach the neutral zone in 6 hours. The Zithrani vessel Stellar Wind will meet us there. Thank you, Lieutenant, Murphy said. Has Chief Engineer Ramirez finished giving their technical team the tour of our engine room? Hayes nodded. Just completed, sir. The Zithrani engineers were quite impressed. I imagine they were, Ambassador Zelphone said with a small laugh. Our best engineers are still trying to understand how your quantum stabilizers work. The ones you showed us in the museum were generations ahead of our technology, and I suspect these are even more advanced. Limited technology sharing with proper safeguards, Murphy quoted from the new treaty. We're happy to show you how they work, but some of the underlying principles will take time to explain. The three moved to a conference room where the walls could become transparent, offering a spectacular view of the stars. They sat at a round table made of a material that seemed to glow softly from within. I must ask you something, Commander, Zelthorn said after a moment of silence. When we first met aboard the Dauntless, how difficult was it for you to endure our condescension? Murphy smiled. Very difficult, especially for Chief Ramirez. I thought he might burst a blood vessel when you called our fusion drive rudimentary. The ambassador lowered his eyes. We were arrogant. Yes, you were, Murphy agreed frankly, but that's in the past now. We're partners moving forward. On the other side of the ship, Dr. Maya Phillips was working with junior researcher Moralex in one of the science labs. The young Zithrani scientist had been among the first to volunteer for the joint mission, her curiosity about humans stronger than her embarrassment. This device can analyze the quantum structure of an object without affecting it? Moralex asked, examining a small spherical instrument. Yes, Dr. Phillips confirmed. We call it quantum resonance imaging. It allows us to study objects at the subatomic level without disrupting their natural state. Moralex shook her head in wonder. This would revolutionize our research methods. The applications for medicine alone would be extraordinary. That's why we're sharing it with you, Phillips said. Your people have developed remarkable medical techniques. Combined with our imaging technology, we could cure diseases that still plague both our species. Throughout the ship, humans and Zithrani worked together, sharing knowledge and building the foundation for a lasting alliance. In the engineering section, Keith Ramirez enjoyed showing off the true capabilities of his engines to wide-eyed Zithrani technicians. In the navigation center, Diana Foster taught alien pilots how to read the quantum signatures of stellar bodies across vast distances. Back on Earth, President Carter stood with Chancellor Drexmore in the newly established joint embassy in Geneva. A large screen showed the horizon's progress toward the neutral zone. The first of many joint missions, the Chancellor said, watching the screen. My people are still adjusting to this new reality. For centuries, we believed ourselves to be among the most advanced civilizations in this sector of the galaxy. And you are, President Carter replied. The Zithrani have achievements that impressed even our scientists. Your biological sciences, in particular, are remarkable. Yet your technology was hidden from us completely, the Chancellor said. I wonder how many other surprises the galaxy holds. Carter smiled. That's what exploration is for. In her office at DeepCore, Director Sandra Blackwood reviewed reports from monitoring stations throughout the solar system. The facility was no longer completely secret, though many of its functions remained classified. Colonel Harrison entered with a tablet. The horizon has cleared the outer system, all systems nominal. And our other projects? She asked, proceeding as planned. The Zithrani have been true to their word so far. Their ships have maintained the agreed-upon distances from our sensitive installations. Blackwood nodded, satisfied. And the message we sent to the Proxima Centauri colony, received and acknowledged. They're preparing for potential Zithrani contact in the coming months. Good, she said. We're taking a calculated risk with this alliance, Jack. I hope it pays off. The President believes it will, Harrison replied. And after seeing how the Zithrani reacted to our revelation, I'm inclined to agree. They could have responded with fear or hostility. Instead, they chose respect. Across the galaxy, word began to spread among interstellar civilizations. The humans of Earth were not the developing species they had appeared to be. Behind their humble facade lay a civilization that had mastered technologies others had only dreamed of and had the wisdom to keep that mastery hidden until absolutely necessary. On the horizon, Commander Murphy received a message from Earth Command. He read it quickly and turned to Ambassador Zelthorn. It seems our mission has been expanded, he said. Long-range sensors have detected unusual energy signatures in the Tau Ceti system. Earth and the Zithrani Confederation have jointly authorized U.S. to investigate. Unusual in what way? The ambassador asked. They match the pattern of quantum folding technology, but with variations we haven't seen before. Zelthorn's eyes widened. Another advanced civilization? Possibly, Murphy replied, or perhaps something else entirely. Lieutenant Hayes entered with updated navigation data. Course to Tau Ceti plotted and ready, sir. Estimated arrival time. It's 48 hours, Murphy nodded. Send word to the Stellar Wind. Let's see if they want to join us on this detour. Already done, sir, Hayes replied with a smile. Captain Zarvek says they wouldn't miss it for anything. As the horizon changed course, Murphy felt a sense of anticipation. For decades, humanity had watched the stars from behind their veil of secrecy. Now they were stepping into the light. Not alone, but with allies at their side. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders and dangers. Some civilizations might greet them with open arms, while others might view their advanced technology with fear or envy. But whatever they encountered, humans would no longer pretend to be less than they were. The time for hiding was over. The time for exploration, true exploration, with all their capabilities on display, had begun. As Ambassador Zelthorn had observed with newfound respect, humanity was not to be underestimated.